Have you ever wondered why some people seem to age gracefully, staying active and mobile deep into their later years, while others struggle with joint pain, stiffness, and inflammation? The difference often comes down to one thing that most people overlook: chronic low-grade inflammation, the hidden driver behind arthritis. Here's something surprising according to research published in Nature Reviews. Rheumatology arthritis is not simply the result of wear and tear as we once believed. Instead, it's a highly dynamic immune-mediating process where the body's own inflammatory pathways become overactivated, attacking the very tissues they're meant to protect. Over time, this leads to the breakdown of cartilage, swelling of the joints, and ultimately the daily discomfort millions know too well. But here's where the science gets even more fascinating and empowering. Recent studies in nutritional science and molecular biology reveal that what you eat has a direct and measurable effect on these inflammatory pathways. Certain nutrients, specifically plant-based proteins, can modulate immune responses, support joint repair mechanisms, and reduce the oxidative stress that exacerbates cartilage damage. Why plant-based proteins? Because many of them are not just sources of amino acids. They're rich in unique bioactive compounds, polyphenols, fiber, antioxidants, specific anti-inflammatory peptides that animal proteins simply don't provide in the same way. These compounds communicate with your gut microbiome, regulate cytokine production, and even influence gene expression tied to inflammation. In short, the right plant-based proteins don't just feed your muscles, they can help soothe your joints. And this is far more than theory. For example, researchers from the Journal of Nutrition have shown that certain plant-based proteins can lower levels of C-reactive protein, CRP1, of the body's key markers of systemic inflammation. Lower CRP, less inflammation, less joint pain. Today, we're going to explore the top 3 plant-based proteins scientifically shown to help soothe arthritis, reduce inflammation, and support joint health. But we're not stopping at theory. I'll give you the neuroscience behind how these proteins affect your body, the exact compounds at work, and simple tools you can apply starting today. We'll dive into how specific plant proteins influence inflammatory pathways in your joints, the gut-joint connection, and how your microbiome regulates pain, why some proteins help rebuild cartilage, while others may make things worse. Simple, evidence-based ways to integrate these foods into your daily life, because when you understand why something works, you're far more likely to follow through and to get results. Let's begin. When we talk about arthritis, many people imagine the problem is purely mechanical, the result of joints simply wearing out over time. But modern science reveals a far more dynamic process at play. Inflammation, the center of nearly every type of arthritis, whether osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, or psoriatic arthritis, lies a complex cascade of immune responses that either heal or harm. Here's what the research shows. Inflammatory cytokines, such as interleukin-6, IL-6 tumor, necrosis factor alpha, TNF-A, and TR-active protein, CRP, act like messengers inside your body, directing immune cells toward damaged tissue. When properly regulated, this system helps repair minor joint injuries, but when these signals stay elevated, as they often do with aging, poor diet, or chronic stress, they become destructive. Cartilage breaks down, synovial fluid becomes less effective at cushioning, and nerves in the joint become hypersensitive to pain. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is also important. Chronic joint inflammation activates pain centers in the central nervous system, particularly in regions like the anterior cingulate cortex and insula, making pain more persistent and emotionally draining. This is why arthritis pain can feel not just physical, but mentally exhausting. Here's where plant-based proteins come in. Unlike some animal proteins, certain plant proteins deliver not just amino acids, but a host of bioactive compounds that actively downregulate these inflammatory messengers. For example, studies published in Nutrients 2018 and Journal of Translational Medicine 2020 demonstrate that plant proteins rich in polyphenols, fiber, and specific peptides can lower systemic CRP and TNFA levels. Essentially, these proteins don't just feed your muscles, they help retrain your immune system toward a calmer, more balanced state. One way to visualize this is to think of your immune system as a thermostat. In many people with arthritis, the thermostat is set too high, constantly triggering heat, inflammation, even when it's not needed. Plant-based proteins act like skilled technicians who recalibrate the thermostat, allowing your body to cool down and restore balance. What's particularly fascinating is how these proteins achieve this through multiple mechanisms. First, their antioxidant properties help neutralize free radicals, unstable molecules that damage cartilage cells. Second, many plant proteins contain compounds that interfere with NF-κB, a key transcription factor that drives inflammatory gene expression. Inhibiting NF-κB reduces the production of cytokines that fuel arthritis progression. Consider this practical tool incorporating a variety of plant-based proteins into your diet can create a synergistic effect. For example, rotating between pea protein, soy protein, and pumpkin seed protein ensures you're feeding your body diverse anti-inflammatory compounds, each targeting different aspects of the inflammatory cascade. Have you noticed how some days your joint pain flares up more than others? Often these flares correlate with spikes in systemic inflammation, sometimes triggered by diet, poor sleep, or stress. By strategically using plant proteins that contain these calming bioactive agents, you're essentially giving your joints a protective buffer. There's also emerging evidence that plant-based proteins improve endothelial function, the health of your blood vessels, better circulation, means improved nutrient delivery and waste removal from your joints, aiding recovery and reducing stiffness. One study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition 2019 showed that participants who consumed more plant proteins had better endothelial nitric oxide function, leading to improved joint perfusion and reduced morning stiffness. And perhaps most empowering of all these effects aren't limited to those with severe arthritis. Even individuals in the early stages of joint discomfort can experience meaningful relief by making simple, consistent changes to their nutrition. When you understand that arthritis isn't just about joints, it's about whole body inflammation, you gain leverage. You can move from a place of helplessness to one of active daily intervention. Among all the inflammatory messengers involved in arthritis, one molecule continues to stand out in the research, interleukin-6 or IL-6. This small protein plays a big role in amplifying the inflammatory response within joints. Elevated IL-6 levels are strongly correlated with both pain intensity and cartilage degeneration in arthritis patients. What's especially challenging is that IL-6 doesn't simply act locally in the joint. It creates a systemic ripple effect, increasing overall inflammation throughout the body, even reaching the brain and contributing to fatigue and mood disturbances, often experienced in chronic pain conditions. Now, this is where PA protein becomes remarkably relevant. Pea protein is far more than a plant-based alternative to animal protein. Research published in the Journal of Functional Foods 2020 highlights that PA protein contains specific bioactive peptides that interact directly with inflammatory pathways. In particular, certain peptides found in practical terms, this means less inflammatory signaling, reduced joint swelling, and potentially slower cartilage breakdown over time. What's happening in your body when you consume these peptides is quite sophisticated. Upon digestion, your gut breaks the protein into smaller peptide chains. Some of these peptides act almost like molecular keys that fit into receptors on immune cells, signaling them to reduce production of IL-6 and other inflammatory cytokines. This is a powerful form of nutritional immunomodulation, a way to train your immune system to calm itself. Now, you might ask, how does this compare to traditional arthritis medications, drugs like corticosteroids or biologics? Also target inflammatory cytokines like IL-6, but they often come with side effects and don't address underlying lifestyle factors. Peaprotein, on the other hand, offers a gentler daily way to influence the same pathways while simultaneously supporting muscle maintenance, gut health, and metabolic function without the pharmaceutical burden. A simple tool to apply is this aim to incorporate 20 to 30 grams of high-quality pea protein isolate daily, especially if you're managing arthritis symptoms. Many people find it easy to add this to morning smoothies, oatmeal, or even baked goods. What's critical is consistency. The regular delivery of these bioactive peptides allows your immune system to gradually recalibrate over weeks and months. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. There's much more science-backed content ahead to empower your health journey. Another layer of benefit comes from peaprotein's excellent arginine content. Arginine is a precursor to nitric oxide, which improves vascular health and enhances nutrient delivery to joint tissues. This improved microcirculation may contribute to reduced stiffness, especially in the mornings when many arthritis sufferers feel their worst. One clinical trial published in Nutrients 2021 showed that participants consuming arginine-rich diets experienced improvements in joint range of motion and subjective pain levels. Have you ever noticed how even mild joint pain feels worse after poor sleep or high stress? That's because IL-6 levels also rise in response to sleep deprivation, and cortisol spikes by incorporating anti-inflammatory proteins like pea protein into your daily nutrition. You're not only targeting joint health, but also supporting better resilience across multiple stress systems in your body. Pea protein also has an advantage when it comes to gut tolerance. Many people with arthritis develop gut permeability issues, a phenomenon often called leaky gut, which can further fuel systemic inflammation. Unlike some dairy proteins that may irritate sensitive digestive systems, pea protein is hypoallergenic, easy to digest, and unlikely to trigger inflammatory gut reactions in some pea protein. Operates on multiple fronts. It delivers amino acids for tissue repair. It provides bioactive peptides that lower IL-6 production. It supports nitric oxide production for better joint circulation. And it offers gut-friendly inflammation, calming, support. Small, consistent daily choices like this create a compounding effect on your health. You're not only managing arthritis, you're actively shifting your biology toward greater balance and vitality. Let's shift now to one of the most scientifically intriguing plant proteins for arthritis relief, soy protein. Unlike many other protein sources, soy offers a unique advantage because of its rich content of compounds known as isoflavones. Particularly G9 and 8-cene, these isoflavones behave as selective estrogen receptor modulators, or SERMs, which means they can partially mimic the effects of estrogen in certain tissues, including joints and bones. Why is this relevant? Because estrogen plays a protective role in maintaining cartilage integrity, bone density, and joint lubrication. This is one reason why many individuals, particularly women, notice a rise in joint pain and arthritis symptoms following menopause when estrogen levels naturally decline. When estrogen drops, cartilage loses some of its regenerative ability, synovial fluid production decreases, and the bones become more susceptible to inflammation-driven degradation. Here's what the research shows. Studies published in Arthritis and Rheumatism and the Journal of Nutrition have found that G9 supplementation can reduce cartilage degradation by directly inhibiting enzymes like matrix metalloproteinases, MMPs, which are responsible for breaking down cartilage collagen. At the same time, G9 helps stimulate the production of proteoglycans, the molecules that give cartilage its springy, shock-absorbing quality. What's happening in your joints when you consume soy protein is deeply fascinating. The isoflavones enter your bloodstream and bind to estrogen receptors within cartilage tissue. Unlike synthetic estrogen therapies, which can have broad systemic effects, These plant degree compounds act more selectively. They provide mild estrogen-like signaling exactly where it's most needed, within bones, joints, and cartilage, without overstimulating tissues like breast or uterine tissue, which can be a concern with hormone replacement therapy. But the benefits of soy protein extend even further into the inflammatory response. Several studies, including one published in Clinical Rheumatology 2017, have shown that soy isoflavones can suppress NF-κB activation, a master regulator of inflammatory gene expression. By quieting NF-κB, soy helps reduce the production of cytoins like TNF-alpha and IL-1B that fuel arthritis progression. Let's bring this to a practical, actionable tool you can use. Incorporating approximately 25 to 35 grams of soy protein daily, whether through soy milk, tofu tempeh, or soy protein isolate, may help support joint health while delivering sufficient amounts of these valuable isoflavones. Spread your intake throughout the day to maintain steady levels of isoflavones in your bloodstream, allowing for continuous joint protection. Have you ever noticed that your joints feel stiffer in the morning, but loosen up with gentle movement? This stiffness reflects both mechanical stiffness from overnight immobility and inflammatory stiffness driven by overnight rises in cytokines. Soy protein, by dampening those inflammatory messengers, may help reduce morning stiffness and improve mobility throughout the day. Soy also supports the bones that anchor your joints. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition 2009 demonstrated that soy isoflavones can modestly increase bone mineral density in postmenopausal women, providing structural support to help reduce the risk of joint misalignment and osteoarthritis over time. There's also a neurological component worth highlighting. Chronic joint pain activates regions in the brain responsible not just for pain perception, but also for emotional regulation areas like the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. The anti-inflammatory and mild hormonal balancing effects of soy may indirectly support more stable mood and cognitive resilience, which is crucial for those living with the day-to-day realities of arthritis pain. Of course, not everyone metabolizes soy isoflavones equally. Some people have gut bacteria that convert dine into a more potent metabolite called a quil, which may offer even stronger joint protective effects. This introduces the gut-joint connection, something we'll explore even further in the upcoming sections. The key takeaway here is that soy protein operates on multiple dimensions: hormonal, inflammatory, structural, and even emotional, making it one of the most comprehensive plant-based proteins for arthritis management. And all of this is accomplished not with pharmaceuticals or radical interventions, but with small daily choices that quietly reshape your biology. While many people focus on inflammation as the primary driver of arthritis, there's another critical process running parallel: the body's ability to repair joint tissue. This is where pumpkin seed protein stands out as a uniquely powerful nutritional tool, combining high-quality plant protein with essential micronutrients and antioxidants that directly support joint recovery and resilience. Pumpkin seeds, also known as papitas, are rich in magnesium, zinc, manganese, and several key antioxidants, including vitamin E and carotenoids. Each of these plays a specific role in maintaining the health of your cartilage, tendons, and synovial fluid. Let's start with magnesium, an often overlooked mineral in arthritis management. Magnesium is required for over 300 enzymatic processes in the body, including the synthesis of collagen and the regulation of muscle and nerve function. EFS studies, such as one published in Biological Trace Element Research 2018, show that individuals with lower magnesium intake have a significantly higher risk of both osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. Why? Because magnesium helps regulate calcium distribution, prevents inappropriate calcification of soft tissues, and moderates the inflammatory response by suppressing NF-κB activation, a key driver of joint inflammation. What's happening in your joints when magnesium is deficient is that inflammatory enzymes can operate unchecked While your body's ability to produce the collagen matrix of cartilage is impaired over time, this weakens joint structure and accelerates cartilage loss. By consuming pumpkin seed protein regularly, you're delivering a steady supply of magnesium that supports these critical repair pathways. Now, consider zinc. Zinc is essential for the activity of matrix metalloproteinase inhibitors, enzymes that prevent excessive breakdown of cartilage tissue. In simple terms, zinc acts like a brake on the enzymes that would otherwise eat away at your joint surfaces. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition, Health, and Aging 2015 found that zinc deficiency is associated with higher levels of joint erosion and inflammation, particularly in aging populations. Pumpkin seed protein also delivers antioxidant protection. The vitamin E and carotenoids found in pumpkin seeds help neutralize free radicals and stable molecules that can damage joint cells and accelerate inflammation. Oxidative stress is a major contributing factor in arthritis progression because it leads to the breakdown of chondrites, the specialized cells that maintain cartilage. By quenching these free radicals, pumpkin seed antioxidants help preserve the structural integrity of joint tissues. Here's a simple, actionable tool. Incorporate 1 to 2 tablespoons of pumpkin seed protein powder or 1/4 cup of whole pumpkin seeds into your daily routine. This small, consistent habit supplies not only complete protein for muscle and connective tissue repair, but also a concentrated dose of these critical minerals. Antioxidants, smoothies, salads, or even roasted as a snack all provide an accessible way to build joint resilience over time. If you're finding this level of science-backed insight helpful, I invite you to subscribe. We're building a library of tools to help you take full control of your joint health, backed by neuroscience, nutrition, and behavioral science. One fascinating emerging area of research connects pumpkin seed compounds with hormonal balance as well. Some studies suggest that the phytosteroids in pumpkin seeds may help modulate androgen levels, which in turn influence muscle maintenance and joint support, particularly in aging men and women. Have you ever noticed that your joints feel more vulnerable after a period of inactivity, such as during an illness or after recovering from surgery? This is because joint tissues, like muscles, require ongoing nutritional support to stay strong and resilient. Pumpkin seed protein offers a convenient way to continue supplying your joints with the raw materials they need, even when your physical activity levels fluctuate. Finally, pumpkin seed protein is highly digestible and generally well tolerated, even for individuals with sensitive digestive systems, unlike some animal-based proteins that can be high in purines, which may exacerbate gout or joint swelling. Pumpkin seed protein delivers joint support without overloading your body with inflammatory metabolites by addressing the nutrient demands of cartilage repair, oxidative stress, defense, and enzymatic regulation. Pumpkin seed protein serves as a comprehensive nutritional ally for anyone living with arthritis. There's a rapidly growing body of science revealing that arthritis isn't just a problem isolated to your joints, it's deeply connected to the state of your gut. In fact, what's happening in your intestines can strongly influence inflammation levels throughout your entire body, including your joints. This emerging field is known as the gut-joint axis. Here's what the research shows. People with arthritis, particularly rheumatoid arthritis, often have significant alterations in their gut microbiome. Studies published in Nature Reviews Rheumatology 2020 and Frontiers in Immunology 2019 reveal that dysbiosis, a disruption in the balance of beneficial versus harmful gut bacteria, can amplify systemic inflammation. Certain pathogenic gut microbes can trigger immune pathways such as toll-like receptor 4, TLR4, which stimulate the release of pro-amino acid cytokines like TNF-alpha-1b and IL-6, some of the same molecules driving joint destruction in arthritis. But here's where plant-based proteins offer a powerful advantage. Many of them contain significant amounts of fermentable fiber and resistant starches, which serve as prebiotics, fuel for your beneficial gut bacteria. These gut-friendly fibers promote the growth of short-chain fatty acid, SCFA, producing bacteria, especially Ficulae proci and Akkermansia, mucinella sassafras like butyrate acetate, and propionate have been shown to reduce systemic inflammation by directly inhibiting NF-κB activity, modulating T regulatory cells and strengthening the intestinal barrier. What's happening in your gut when you consume fiber-rich plant proteins is like cultivating a protective garden. The healthier and more diverse your gut microbiome, the more your body produces these anti-inflammatory SCAFs, which circulate through your bloodstream and help calm immune overactivation, even in distant tissues like your joints. Have you ever noticed that when your digestion is off, your joint pain sometimes flares up too? That's not coincidence. It's your gut joint axis in action. A leaky or inflamed gut lining allows endotoxins like lipopolysaccharides, LPS, to escape into the bloodstream, further triggering systemic inflammation. Keeping your gut lining strong helps prevent this chain reaction. A simple tool to apply here is to regularly include fiber-rich HC plant protein sources like hemp seeds, chia seeds, quinoa, and buckwheat. These proteins not only supply essential amino acids, but also contribute significant amounts of soluble fiber. Aim for 20 to 30 grams of dietary fiber daily from a variety of these sources to optimally support your gut microbiome. Let's take hemp seeds as one example. Hemp protein contains both edestin, and the soluble fiber research published in Nutrients 2019 highlights how hemp direct compounds may have direct immunomodulatory effects, reducing inflammatory cytokine levels while simultaneously feeding gut bacteria that produce SCFAs. If you're starting to see how deeply interconnected your nutrition, gut health, and joint function are, consider subscribing. We're building a science-backed roadmap to empower your body's natural healing systems. There's even a fascinating neurological connection here. The gut microbiome produces neurotransmitters like GABA and serotonin that influence pain sensitivity, mood, and sleep quality. Poor gut health can heighten pain perception and emotional distress, making arthritis feel even more overwhelming. By supporting your gut, you're not only easing physical joint pain, but also buffering your brain against the emotional toll of chronic inflammation. Emerging clinical trials such as those from the Lancet Rheumatology 2021 are now exploring microbiomodulation as a novel approach to treating autoimmune forms of arthritis. Early data suggests that dietary interventions promoting microbial diversity may soon become a frontline adjunct therapy for inflammatory joint diseases. The key takeaway is this: every meal is an opportunity to nurture the internal ecosystem that powerfully influences your joint health. Plant-based proteins, when chosen wisely, serve as both structural building blocks and microbiomes, addressing the root causes of arthritis from multiple angles. Understanding the science behind plant-based proteins and their role in arthritis relief is crucial, but knowledge alone doesn't create change. The real transformation happens when we translate science into simple, repeatable behaviors. This is where behavioral science becomes your most powerful ally in managing arthritis long term. Here's what the research shows. Sustainable habit formation isn't primarily about willpower. It's about designing your environment, routines, and an identity to support consistent action. Studies from behavioral psychology, such as those by B.J. Fogg and James Clear, emphasize that small, specific actions anchored to existing routines are far more likely to become lasting habits than grand, ambitious plans that require constant motivation. Let's apply this directly to incorporating plant-based proteins for joint relief. First, anchor new habits to existing routines. For example, you might attach your daily pea protein smoothie to your morning coffee ritual, or pair your pumpkin seed protein intake with your mid-afternoon snack. When you connect the new behavior to something you already do automatically, you reduce the cognitive load required to remember or prioritize it. Second, create frictionless preparation. One study published in Health Psychology 2014 demonstrated that participants who prepared healthy food in advance were significantly more likely to adhere to their dietary goals. Pre-measure your plant protein powders. Prep your smoothie ingredients, or keep pre-portioned servings of soy-based snacks on hand. Make the healthy choice the easy choice. Third, focus on identity, not just outcomes. Instead of saying, I need to eat more plant protein to help my joints, reframe your self-talk to, I'm the kind of person who nourishes my joints and body every day. Identity-based habits are far more resilient because they're tied to your self-page over time. This creates a feedback loop. Consistent action reinforces identity, which reinforces continued action. A simple protocol you can implement is what I call the 3-point nourishment routine. Morning, 20 to 30 g of pea or soy protein with breakfast. Afternoon, a small serving of pumpkin seed protein or hemp protein with a snack. Evening, a fiber-rich chi-cake plant protein-based dinner. To food stir-fry, quinoa salad, lentil soup. By spreading your intake across the day, you maintain stable amino acid availability, support muscle repair, and deliver continuous anti-inflammatory signaling to your immune system. This pattern also mirrors how many successful clinical trials structure nutrient dosing for inflammatory conditions. Have you ever noticed how a missed day or two of healthy eating can lead to a spiral of setbacks? This is a classic example of what behavioral scientists call the what the hell effect, when one small lapse leads to full abandonment of the goal. The antidote is habit resilience. If you miss one dose or meal, simply resume at the next opportunity. Without judgment, progress is not about perfection. It's about consistency over time. Another critical behavioral principle is reward association. Make the act of preparing and consuming your plant proteins enjoyable use of favorite smoothie recipe, enjoyable flavors, or even small rewards for hitting weekly consistency goals. When your brain associates positive emotion with the habit, dopamine reinforces the behavior loop, making future adherence easier. If you're finding these tools helpful, I encourage you to like and subscribe this channel. If you encourage you to like and subscribe this channel and to optimize your mind and body, finally, track your progress, not just